Hi, and welcome to the lesson on VLookup. Ultimately, we're going to start with a file today that's already prepared that you can download off our website. And if you've taken the if statement lesson, you'll notice this is a very similar data set. But ultimately, this data set is a long data set, which means there are many rows, and each row indicates a specific element in the data. So in this specific table, we have someone's birthday, someone's ID, and someone's annual salary. So imagine this might be a spreadsheet you keep for a small office if you want to keep some payroll numbers. Now, one of the things VLookup helps us do is if you have a lot of data, it helps us find the specific rows that you're interested in and pull out information about that row so you don't have to search through the entire piece. So you see over here we have a table. Maybe you're very interested in what the birthday and annual salary of these people with 5 IDs is. Now, one way you could do it is if you grab the entire data set, done here by grabbing A, B, and C, and you filter, you can actually look them up. So 12366, you can type in 12366, and it'll bring you information there. But you see how this table disappeared? It's because it squashed all the rows. It's very hard to actually figure out what's going on here. So the easier way would be to use VLookup, which is scary to set up, but once you set it up, really easy to use. So one of the tips about VLookup is whatever you're looking up has to be on the right-hand side of the ID. So you see here we're using ID to find birthday and annual salary. Here, birthday is on the left-hand side. So what you can do is you can actually just type equals, D1 equals A1, and you see it brings birthday over, copy it down, brings birthday into this date. Now this date looks weird, but you can actually format the cells into a date so it looks similar. Then ultimately you just click down and it brings birthday over for you. So now birthday, and it's okay, it's duplicated. Birthday is also on the right-hand side of ID. So we can use it as the VLookup. So here we'll start with birthday, and ultimately you're going to start by typing equals VLookup. Open the parenthesis. Now you see the formula here looking for a lookup value, what it's going to look up. So that's the ID we're looking at. What table it's going to look into. Remember, starting with the ID. So we're going to grab the table B through D. How many columns to go over to find your data. So once it finds the ID, what actual column are you going to pull out? So birthday first, then annual salary, for example. And then range lookup. Ultimately, this is should default to false. We're going to keep it as false. False means you're looking for an exact value. Excel tries to approximate values if you want it to, but it's really bad at it. So I would suggest never using true because it never really comes true. So ultimately, we'll start with birthday. So you do the lookup value. Click here in F4 or F3, sorry. So you see F3 as our first lookup value. We're not going to freeze that because we want to pull it down. Then you're going to grab the table array. So I'm going to grab B through D by clicking on the column headers. You can also grab the actual data, but I think this is more robust. Now we do want that to stay static as we drag this around. So we're going to click F4. It's going to put the dollar signs in front. That means the table has been frozen and won't move as we move around. You do the next column, and you see column index. Now this is what you do. You start with the column you're looking at, and that's 1. So if we wanted to pull back ID, it would just be 1. Annual salary would be 1, 2. We'd put a 2 in there. Birthday would be 1, 2, 3. So we're going to start with birthday and click 3. Now again, here you true is approximate match, false is exact match. We're going to go with false because we always want exact matches. And then when you click enter, you see, and again, this needs to format as a date. Employee 12366. Born on 12/14/2012. Now I actually know that person is right here. That is correct. Okay. Now if we want to drag it down, we know the birthday is for everyone. So you see, since we didn't freeze that lookup value, as it drags down, it updates. The table stays the same. The columns obviously don't change. But if we want to drag it over, we see now we have an error term. And that's because we didn't freeze this. So as it drags over, it goes over by columns. So what we'll do here is we'll click F4. We don't want to freeze the entire cell because remember that when we couldn't drag it down. We don't want to freeze just the row because then we could only drag it, we couldn't drag it anywhere. And then what we want to do is just freeze the column. So frozen F3, You see as we drag it down, the values stay the same. But as we drag it over, lookup still grabs. Now it's still pulling birthday. That's because we haven't changed the column. So we're going to change that to a 2. That's formatted in date. So I'm just going to go home and very quickly format it as a dollar amount. Then if we drag this down, you see it updates their salary. Now one trick is you can actually turn this column lookup into a formula of its own. So let's say instead of the 3, we want to reference a cell like G1. Now as I drag it down, I want it to stay in row 1. So if you think about how you want to freeze that, remember I want to be able to drag it over and change columns. When I drag it down, I don't want the row to change. So we're going to click F4, and we're going to stop when the dollar sign is before the row. This freezes the row but not the column. So as I drag down, it stays looking at G1. As I drag over, it'll update columns as I go over. Now there's nothing in there, so it obviously goes to value. Birthday is column 3, so I'm going to put a 3 up there. And you see, it returned to form. We're going to put a 2 here. As I drag over, it will update automatically, although change my formatting on me again. And as I drag that down, it'll stay. So that's one tip to setting up VLookup. VLookup is hard to use at first, but the more practice, the easier it'll get. And if you set it up correctly the first time, you can look up quickly certain identifiers in data, and it's a very useful tool.